How we doing, fellas? So Jay and I have been away for a while. We understand that. We're upset about it too. Okay. Uh, Jay's gonna be a dad soon, and I'm working on my house and starting some investments, and
We're adulting, man. It's
we're
just,
adulting.
but
I mean, you can't
it's
say it
okay.
any better.
But we're here now because guess what? The season starts in 3 days. So we'll be here. And I know where I'll be watching football and talking about football 24/7.
Yeah, for essentially 4 days straight now, 4 to 5 days. I think there's a couple
Yeah.
Friday games
I was
this
about
year.
to say, do you know that there's a Friday game like this week?
It's
So
a little it's a little scary to be
it's
honest.
kind of interesting, honestly. I don't know how I feel about it too. It's like now there's another day of football, but at least I can like come home from work and it's like, all right, there's going to be football on. So, it's kind
Well,
of
I'll be in the middle of a varsity football game, high school coaching, so I'll probably miss all the Friday games.
It should be a good game. It's Packers versus Eagles, so two up and coming teams, honestly. So it
Is
should
that the Brazil game?
it is the Brazil game. Yeah. So I shouldn't even say up and coming. The Eagles obviously everyone loves. Maybe. I don't know. They had their slide. I think they lost six out of their last seven games to end the season. And then they lost that playoff game to the Bucks. And then the Packers, Jordan Love coming out of nowhere, showing his QB dominance. So it's gonna be super interesting to see what happens with that team.
Big ripples in the league this year is just what I feel like. There's going to be a lot of new names. There's going to be a lot of new things going on, a lot of new faces on new teams.
Yes,
It's going
sir.
to be a very interesting year. Jay and I are still working on that rebranding. So again, don't get upset with us, but as Jason said,
Yeah.
we're here and we're going to get into it. So
He's
Jay, do you want
converted.
to pull up
Let's do it.
the first couple of rounds of our Sunday Funday draft?
Yes, sir. So what we're gonna do is really we're just gonna go through the draft and see what we kind of felt about the first couple rounds, and then we're gonna just highlight some names, and then let's get into talking trash about each other's teams and seeing who's actually gonna be good and stuff like that. But why don't you start us off, Brownie? Since you happened to take all of the picks in the first round, essentially, what do you have to say?
I mean, really, I year one of this league. I mean, we're in what, year four now?
We are in year four. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
entering year four.
this will be year four. So year one was a travesty for me. I just thought I had an absolute stud team. They all went to my IR and I
You
just
traded
decided
CMC. You traded CMC like mid-season as well. So that was pretty much you're just like, okay, I think I'm
I
done.
traded Saquon also.
Yeah, to me. Haha.
Yeah. So a lot of, fire sale to like rebuild for the future. And now I feel like I'm really that future depth is starting to get thick between last year's draft class and this year's draft class. It's awesome. I mean, adding to, the JSN and the Drake London that I had previously gotten, as well as Brees Hall,
Yeah.
even in 2022. I mean, this draft class of bringing in for myself Caleb, Marvin, Malik, Drake May, Odunze, that's all just in the first round. I also end up with McConkey in the second. Um, it's just one of those things where I'm starting to feel the wave of change. It took a minute, but now we're here, and
For sure.
I definitely can compete. I don't think I'm
It
likely to
all it
win
all
this year,
depends on
but
what happens with these guys.
yeah.
I know like obviously me and you have been having conversations about like what you're gonna be doing at these first four picks and like it definitely went exactly how you honestly kind of talked about it. So are you a little bit upset that you didn't get to trade any of these picks, or are you kind of happy that you had to make them?
Well, I mean, I kind of traded up with you,
You
right,
did.
to secure that last wide receiver. So the first four picks I'm ecstatic about. I would have also been excited to trade back for one of those quarterbacks because right now I'm sitting with five quarterbacks on my roster, and I am not complaining in the least, especially since I know there's still probably one more year before I can, really make that turn to be a top three team. Um, but for all those out there listening, you need quarterbacks. I'm here. I'm the quarterback guru, as you all know. So I'm very thrilled with how the draft went. I have zero complaints. I don't think it could have went any better. I mean, of course, I wouldn't have preferred to let go of one of my 25 firsts to you, but I do truly believe that Romo Dunze will be a generation. I shouldn't say generational. I believe he's going to be a very, very consistent, productive wide receiver for his quarterback, which I also got in Caleb Williams. I think the Browns are going to turn their franchise around. They're not going to be laughing stock anymore. I think they're going to be very competitive, be pretty consistent, and
Yeah.
between them and the Packers, it's just going to be a battle back and forth, at least until they figure something out with Justin Jefferson's throwing situation in Minnesota.
So I think, I do love a good stack, and I think that's good. I think Rome Odunze, if he could even show, I think he's going to show flashes this season, but I think he's going to be someone that you're going to be more happy that you got next year. And then Caleb Williams obviously should also show that he is a competent quarterback. I'm not really too worried about that. There's definitely a lot of like haters that like are not really too much into him. But I think Caleb Williams is going to be a fine quarterback. Definitely. Also, I'm definitely a part of the Hard Knocks hype. Like I've watched some episodes of them. He definitely seems like he knows what he's doing. He's composed. He is learning from his mistakes, and he seems like he's kind of honestly maturing from all that kind of stuff. So I
Yeah,
think he's
and
a good NFL. He's being a good NFL quarterback and personality.
yeah,
He's being mature about it.
no fingernail paint yet, so we're good.
It's coming for sure, though.
We can
Um,
better not.
but yeah, so you took those four picks, and then number five we have Jalen Daniels, Jaden Daniels, not Jalen, Jaden Daniels, and that's someone who everyone was projecting to go over Drake May. So Berto was definitely very happy that Jaden Daniels dropped to him. I know that's someone who he wanted. He thought he was going to get stuck with Drake May. So after that happened, he was definitely pretty ecstatic by it. Jaden Daniels definitely is he's not getting drafted over Caleb Williams in a redraft, but they are definitely going within that same range. I think
Yeah,
he might be going like a round after, not even like half a round. So essentially, you got to make your pick. Do you want Jane Daniels or
yeah,
you want Caleb Williams in redraft? So the fantasy community is obviously projecting them to have similar kind of statistics, but Jane Daniels, he has that rushing upside. He will be rushing for probably getting close to probably like 75, maybe even 100 attempts. And that's definitely where you want your fantasy ceiling to be going to, honestly. Caleb Williams also uses his legs, though, but I don't think he's going to get up there like that. He's going to be more, I'm going to be kind of passing the football there. So, and he has a really good supporting cast. Jane Daniels, not really the best supporting cast, but it's not terrible.
no,
Eckler, B Rob, McLaurin. They just traded Jahan Dotson, so I don't even know who their number two is going to be. I'm assuming it's going to be Diami Brown. I'm assuming is going to be, but they didn't even or Luke McCaffrey, but he's a new one this season.
yeah. The moves they've been making are interesting. I
And
think that they kind of know that they're not going to be head of their conference, so they're trying to load up for next year.
it's interesting for sure. But I feel like they should be a competing team. So I don't know. That
I,
that division is definitely interesting.
yeah, I've definitely risen on Jaden Daniels. Like I have always been someone who doesn't really trust rushing quarterbacks. Like in the Aaron Rodgers type of rushing where like you sneakily get 500-600 yards in a year, like Aaron Rodgers, like prime. That's the kind of rushing I like. So that's why Caleb Williams was at the top of my list, other than his just athleticism in general and his ability to command the football field. Drake May, I chose over Jaden Daniels because he sneakily has rushing ability. I mean, his first touchdown in the NFL was a rushing
Oh,
touchdown.
he does have rushing ability for
So
sure.
he's a guy who ran, I think, 700 or 800 yards in college. Like he has the ability to put that on the field. So the way I just had from my own scouting and from my, the people that I look into most for analysis, I just had Drake May personally over Jaden Daniels. Now,
Drake May
Drake May,
had you want the rushing stats right now?
sure.
Drake May rushed for in his last year 449, but the year before that he got to 698.
All right. So I was a little high on that, but all I know is the coaching at North Carolina has always been good for quarterbacks because of just their staff there. Uh, Drake May was someone that a lot of teams were gunning for.
for sure.
You know, especially from the New York Giants, Hard Knocks, you could see a lot of programs were interested in Drake May. So really, I don't blame anyone for taking Jaden Daniels at 2, 3, 4. I mean, Berto should be happy that he got him at 5 if he's someone who believes in that rushing quarterback upside. I just, other than Lamar Jackson, and I guess you could say Cam Newton, but Cam Newton, for the rushing quarterback that he really wasn't that top 5 year in, year out guy. I mean, really only Jackson has been that guy. RG3 had an awesome couple of years injured, right? You can go back to basically any priority rushing quarterback and say injury or inconsistent. So I really do. I get the fantasy mentality of you want that freak of nature rushing quarterback for that extra point ceiling. But in my mind, in the last 10 years, it's really only worked out with Lamar
Yeah.
in terms of year in, year out security.
Cam Newton's MVP season, he was QB1.
Yeah.
His rookie season, number three. 2 seasons after his MVP season, number two. But then after that, it really is kind of. But he definitely was kind of because he was hurt as well. But that's
I
what
mean, I
happened.
wouldn't mind hearing that actually. So would you just say 3-1
So
what?
he was so from when he got drafted, he was 3, 17, 1, 13, 2, 11. Then he just completely fell off.
So
So
like the argument
had
for the rushing quarterback, the argument
every
for
other
the
year.
rushing quarterback would be, hey, he's a top quarterback one way or the other, but then there's these amazing spike years where he's 1, 3, and 5,
And
right?
he very and kind of what I was so he had 111 attempts, 103, 130, 132 MVP season. That's wild. 90. So exactly. So like kind of like and Jane Daniels is definitely gonna get that. But is he gonna get the passing touchdowns? I feel like when you're getting a rushing quarterback, you want them to combine for passing and rushing. You want that to be around the 35 range because that's going to get you top one stability there. But it needs to
Yep.
combine for that 35 range. Cam Newton, his MVP season, had 35 passing touchdowns and 10 rushing touchdowns. His rookie season, 24 passing, six rushing, so around that 30 mark. So yeah, so I would say 35. 30 to 35-ish is what you're looking for the combine, which Jalen Hurts
Yeah.
is obviously doing what that is what Lamar Jackson's doing. That's what people are hoping Anthony Richardson's going to be doing, and this is what they're hoping Jay Daniels is going to be doing. Those are
Yeah.
essentially your rushing quarterbacks. And Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is definitely in there as well.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I really do. I've always felt like I want to prioritize pocket passers. I want to know that I can get, like you're saying, like that 35, 30 to 40 in the air touchdown bubble. That's where I want to be with this is my personal setup for my teams.
Absolutely.
And, if they happen to also be runners, like I'm a big fan of Kyler Murray, then sure. If they happen to be runners like Aaron Rodgers in his prime, then I'm fine. If they happen to be great rushers like Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, then of course I'm pumped. But, and for me, it's like prove that you can do it in the air and then show me on feet rather than the reverse psychology of run with your feet and then earn your way up to
Exactly.
passing
And
touchdowns like
that's
Josh Allen. I don't think that story of Josh Allen happens very often.
Oh, no, no way. And like what you're saying is also like Justin Fields. Like Justin Fields is dynamic on his legs, but
Yeah.
that guess what? That didn't keep him around in the Chicago Bears. So it's like
Yep.
you need to be if you're a quarterback, you have to be good at passing. Like you
Yeah.
cannot just forgo that. That is literally your job as a
Yeah.
quarterback, pass the ball.
Agreed.
So,
Well,
but
listen, the quarterbacks are always the topic of discussion. So
oh,
after Jaden Daniels, I trade you for Rome Odunze. I mean, just have a comment on that. Like, you were willing to give up a name like Romo Dunze, I guess a name like Brooks, a name like
my
Worthy.
strategy, so I did this in another league as well. Xavier
Yep.
Worthy was my wide receiver 3 for this class, and I knew that was not the sentiment for other people. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to trade back and still get Xavier Worthy, and that's exactly how it happened. And it happened in 2 leagues as well. So I got exactly what I needed to get done to get the person that I wanted. It's not that I don't like
Nice.
Dunze, but Xavier Worthy is just my wide receiver 3. So why would I not take the extra draft capital
Yeah.
4 players for someone that I wanted to draft at that 106, you know?
absolutely. And correct me if I was wrong. I gave you my 108 and my 25 first. Like that was it. Two for one.
You gave me your 108, your 25 first, and a third, and I gave you the
Wow.
106 and the 202.
All right.
So
So
you
the
got a lot.
202,
You got a
and
lot
then
in
I
the
ended with Lad. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So in my mind, I'm happy with that trade. Admittedly, I paid up. I just did. I paid up. And
And Lad McConkey is a good name. Like we
yeah,
did draft what? I don't know, like June? I don't really know. 2 months.
yeah, he's
Two
going to
months
have a
ago.
great year. And
And
I think he's going to have a great career. I think
yeah,
if he cannot have the injury bug like he did in college, then he's going to have an amazing
he's
NFL career.
he's trending in the right direction. So like you
Yeah,
get Lad McConkey on top of all that is it definitely is looking good. So it's I feel like at the end of the day, this might be similar. It's because I mean you gave me a 25 first. We're gonna see where that 25 first is gonna
yeah,
land. So essentially is gonna be Roma Dunze and Lad McConkey versus Xavier Worthy and whoever I draft. So that's gonna kind of
yeah,
be the comparison. I love doing trade math. Trade math is like my favorite thing, is just figure out where things kind of land out. But I think at the end of the day, honestly, you have your players right now. So it's like you're gonna just see how they work out, and I have to wait another year to draft someone essentially.
yeah. After that, Odunze trade is Brooks. This one broke my heart because I was going to utilize the trade that I had just gotten from you, as well as the one that I ended up snagging Bo Nix with to try to jump up and snag Brooks at the end of the first. Now, who knows if, you know, the
You
ninth pick and the 10th pick would have given
would
him
have
up
done
to
it.
me.
But hey,
Who knows?
that's all part of the plan though. You got
Yeah, I think if I had snagged Brooks this year, that would have been the only thing that would have made my draft above above the top. Like I think my draft obviously just because of the players I got, my draft is an AA plus. Um,
for sure. I mean, you had the first 4 picks. It's kind of hard to not
yeah,
have.
exactly. Like it has nothing to do that I was particularly amazing at drafting. It's just that I had happened to
But
get those
yeah,
picks.
let's talk about Jonathan Brooks for a little bit though. Like obviously he is actually put on the pup, so he's 4 games
Yeah.
up automatically.
Yep.
Then he can return. Who knows if he's actually going to return for game 5? But I think this is a good move to make for the future. Like if
100%.
I was looking to so I was actually looking to trade for Jonathan Brooks in a league that like I'm not really trying to be competitive in because I'm trying to take points out of my lineup. And I think while I don't think that's what Santana is really trying to do, I mean, regardless, he was the best running back in this class. So I feel like you have to take him, but there definitely is that little bit of risk of just like, are you okay with not him having maybe the best beginning of the season or season overall? And are you really going to see the true Jonathan Brooks in 2025, essentially? And I
Yeah.
think
Uh, yeah.
that's the bed you have to sleep in, you know? And I just don't know if Santana's team is willing to have Jonathan Brooks do that, you know?
Yeah. I think when you're drafting running backs, you 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 either have the depth and you're just trying to keep the depth. Um, you know, when I look at his team, um, I think he
Let's
needed running back.
let's pull it up. Let's pull up his team.
Yeah.
All right. He's got Herbert, Stevenson, Najee, Nico, Zay Flowers, Kittle, Cooper, Rashi Rice, Gus Edwards,
Yeah, he's
and
looking
Kirk
for
Cousins.
that all-star breakout runner. So like he's drafting knowing he needs to bolster his running back room, which is it is what it is. You know, for me, it was like I had Brees and I have other pieces that can throw into my running back two spot. But if I could have snagged Brooks, you know, Brees and Brooks could be names for the next 3-4 years. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So that was my hope. Like what I'm trying to say is you're either getting Brooks to start that RB1 hero mentality, like this is my guy that I'm going to build around, or you're saying, I already have good running backs. I'm ready to compete now. Let's bolster that in case of any injuries, kind of thing. And yeah, you're right. The Panthers played it perfect. Don't push your guy out there. The Panthers are nowhere near, being even playoff contenders. Like,
No way.
take your time, let your youth learn and grow, and let's
Exactly.
not put pressure on a very young, talented guy.
Exactly. And that's exactly what they needed to do. So
Yep.
Heck, we'll
Yep.
see. We'll see how that works out. I do want to say, I think the steal of this first round, Brock Bowers. I had a very hard time not drafting him. I mean, I do have Kyle Pitts, but Kyle Pitts has been supposed to break out forever, so I'm still riding that train, whatever. But Brock Bowers at the 109, probably the best collegiate tight end in college
Ever.
ever,
Yeah.
literally ever.
Ever.
Um, uh,
Yeah.
Drafted at the 109. Like that's honestly, it's a steal. It is a true steal. I know that's something that the Bash Bros wanted as well because they do have Kelsey. So talk about
Yeah.
having Kelsey, and then now you're having Brock Bowers. They don't need to draft a tight end for years to come, assuming Brock Bowers is going to hit.
That is the hope. That
It's
is definitely the hope. I mean, that's when you take the swing on tight end in the first round, which almost every year there seems to be like this,
now
at
there
least
is.
desire.
Tight ends are moving themselves up. Sam Laporta, Kincaid were
Yeah.
definitely. I think even Kincaid maybe got drafted in the first round in this league last year.
Yeah.
Um, Sam Laporta, Kincaid, Trey McBride was definitely more of like a second or third rounder, but like
Yep.
the tight ends are starting to develop a lot more quicker. Like there used to be that thing where it's like, oh, you have to wait a couple seasons. That thing's starting to get thrown out the window. Very similar to wide receivers, like third year breakout. No one really breaks down the third year unless it's Nico Collins last year. But like everyone's looking for everybody to be productive so
Yeah.
quickly, and I feel like that trend is now happening for tight ends.
It's the it's the fact that the NFL is moving so much to an air game. I mean, this has been happening over the last 7 to 10 years where
Yep.
the running backs are being deprioritized and the pass catchers are being prioritized. And as the population gets freakier and freakier in terms of athleticism. We keep seeing these 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", 6'8", whether they're tight ends or wide receivers, finding ways to get these huge individuals on the football field. All it takes is that one to be a freak. Now, Bowers is not that. Bowers is just a regular sized guy. I believe he's 6'2", 6'3", but his freakiness comes from his just overall athleticism.
Six
He's
four,
6'4".
230. You ever see that picture of him next
Mm,
to Gronk?
yeah, it's crazy.
It actually is crazy though.
That's crazy. But he's not a freak in terms of his size. He's a freak in terms of his overall just football wisdom. I think that he's great at the sport of football. And this is something that other people who have analyzed his game that I've picked up on what they are saying. He just gets the game of football. He understands leverage. He understands open space. He understands when to turn on the jets and when to set up a block. And this is why, in the preseason, we've seen him take handoffs.
Yep.
Like he's not going to only get passes. He's not going to only get dump offs. He's going to be a downfield threat and he's going to be a backfield threat.
And that's
So,
that's what he did at Georgia too. So why would they not
uh,
do it?
absolutely. So, as much as all of us hated seeing him go to the Raiders because they already have a high caliber tight end, there is a world where two tight ends can score in the NFL. I mean, it's super unlikely, and we've only ever seen it once, and the one guy ends up going to jail. Uh,
Literally.
but
But it's possible. It's not.
yeah,
It's
I had to back off. My original draft plan was to get two wide receivers, two quarterbacks, and find a way to get Brock Bowers.
That's what we
But
all honestly. I think we all thought that's what you were gonna do, but then
yeah,
Bowers never ended up on your team.
I
We
just I couldn't invest
I
where
thought that
my team
106.
is.
I thought the 106 was gonna be Bowers.
Yeah, where my team is, and still not making that turn into the competitive window. I think tight ends and running backs are your competitive window players. Like I'm gonna just keep loading up on young quarterbacks, young wide receivers until I have enough trade bait to get the tight end I want or get the running backs I want. And right now, I'm just the last two pieces of my puzzle are pairing a running back with Brees and or finding a breakout tight end.
Yeah,
That's it.
makes sense.
And once I get there, beware.
Moving on to the next pick. Unfortunately, we have JJ McCarthy, which is also very much a steal in this draft. He was
Yeah,
looking so good in the preseason, and then sadly he tore his meniscus, so he's out for the season, which is definitely a big blow for Samala, especially with the team that he has. He's definitely was looking for a quarterback to have. But actually, this draft, I'm not sure if you even remember this. He
he
did end
will.
up trading for Sam Darnold later in the draft for like a fifth round pick. So that honestly kind of helped him. So now he has the backup. So I think that's kind of like a win for him. I think Samala is a team that definitely is looking more towards the future. So I think it kind of just works out. Whatever he has, I'm pretty sure he still has his draft pick for next year, so that would be good. And then he also has Mackenzie and Corey's picks with the whole Patrick Mahomes trade next year. So he does have some first to kind of like load up and kind of like wait on. So definitely stinks. I'm sure that's not what he wanted to happen, but I think the reality of the situation is that maybe it was better, so he just has less points in his lineup. But once again, he does have Sam Darnold, so he could start a quarterback if needed.
Yeah, I was gonna say that like this is almost. I mean, obviously you never want to see your first round pick get injured, but when you look at his team, he's just not ready to compete, and that's okay. Like that's okay. Like I that was me year two, year three. Like I just wasn't going to be a competitor. But now look who I've gained on my team, right? All these early draft picks, this Brees Hall, this Drake London, you know, Caleb, Marvin Harrison Jr. Like if you know that you're not going to be able to be a top four and compete for the chip, why waste your time with putting points on the board,
Yep,
right?
yep,
So
I agree.
for
And like,
him, it's like you got a good quarterback who should be a franchise guy with Justin Jefferson. So
and
he's always
and
going to have,
and he did look like a franchise guy. It's not like he should be.
yeah, he
He
played
he
well. He played
he
really
did.
well. So
He
it's
played so well.
you sit on him just like
And
he's going to sit on Will Levis. And you just hope that oh, and Michael Penix. He also has Michael Penix,
yeah,
right? So he's
he,
got
he-
three young names that he's going to have to wait at least a year regardless. So let your Sam Laporta develop. Let your Brian Thomas develop. You know, get Keenan Allen off your team.
someone wants Keenan
Get
Allen.
Aaron Rodgers off your team.
Someone wants Calvin
Get
Ridley.
Calvin Ridley off your team.
But who he
It's
did
not. It's
draft
just not going to happen. It's
for
not going
sure.
to happen this year. So pull a me and get young.
Yep. And I love Brian Thomas. I love Brian Thomas. I think Brian Thomas is going to have a good season. All he did in the preseason games was he would catch a long pass, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Trevor Lawrence
Yeah.
needs wide receiver one.
Yep.
I think he's going to do well. I'm a big fan of Brian Thomas. I think
Yeah.
he's someone that I am targeting in redraft leagues. That's someone who I want on my team. Like I think he is going to make that impact this season. I
Yeah.
will include
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of Brian Thomas just because I was like, how can you be a first round, second round pick if you were overshadowed by someone, right? Like Neighbors clearly was the man in that offense. But the more I looked at the stats, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, he scored like 13 touchdowns
Yes,
his senior
exactly.
year.
He
So
had
it's like
he
it
had a
could
good
just be one of
season.
those scenarios where yeah, we just happen to have two true number ones, and LSU was blessed that year with that kind of wide receiving core. So yeah, I've names like we just spoke about, Jaden Daniels and Brian Thomas. They're names that are definitely rising on my list. None of them were targets during the draft season, but now post draft season, I'm starting to see the windows of opportunity for players like this that weren't on my personal list.
For sure. Continue on. We already talked about Lab McConkey.
Yep.
He's already they saying that he should already be their
He's
wide receiver one.
yeah,
And
he's a starter.
I know there's that Justin Herbert scare with like his foot and stuff. So but I think everyone's pretty down on the Chargers right now. I think they're gonna be
Yep.
okay. Like, but that's what's gonna happen. They're gonna be okay. Plus
Yeah.
Harbaugh is not an idiot. He knows how to coach a
Yeah.
team. He's coached an NFL team before. And guess what? He's brought them to the Super Bowl. So I
Yeah.
think he knows what he's doing. Not really too
Yep.
worried about that team. Next, we go on to Keon Coleman. So that's the Bills are definitely a little bit in flux. They have the most vacated targets coming into the season. So who's going to catch all those passes? Enter Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, Shakir. Like, so who is going to be the one that's going to do it? I don't see why it cannot be Keon Coleman. He's definitely more very like raw. I think when he was at I think he was at FSU.
Yeah.
Whenever you see his highlights, they're always going to be long bombs, and he was basically mossing people essentially.
Yeah.
So, but you're not going to be able to do that in NFL all the time. So, what else is he going to bring to his game to get him to that next tier, essentially? You know,
Yeah.
so
Basketball player converted to football. He's a freak.
was he a
Um,
basketball player? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I think he played both basketball and football at Michigan. Not Michigan. I think it was Michigan State. And then he transferred to Florida State.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
he did well there, but once
yeah,
again,
yeah.
there's always
His
highlight. Always
issue
highlight that.
is football. His issue is football. Like he's a freak athlete. So if a team can convert him to a football player, that's when you're going to find that ceiling that everyone's hoping for. But he scares me a lot. He's
Oh,
got really bad separation ability. I mean, his contested catch rate, he could become like a Mike Evans. Like, hey, I don't separate all the time, but I'm going to come down with the ball. That would be his
well, that's
greatest, in my opinion,
that's
that's
the
his
hope.
ceiling.
That is literally the hope, though. That's the
Yeah.
hope. Want him
But it
to,
takes a lot to be that guy. It takes a lot to
especially at the NFL level.
consistently beat cornerbacks that
Correct.
way. So, you know, obviously best of luck to all these these young draft picks, but he was one I was never going to draft. It didn't matter to me. Just seeing what I saw on tape was fun. Seeing the highlight tape was fun, but watching the film was a problem.
Yeah, he's
Uh,
definitely a high ceiling, low floor player,
Solo.
and
Like,
that's the reality. But it's a good place, like I was saying in the beginning, though. The Bills, so many vacated targets. Like it
yeah,
needs to go to somebody. The Bills are not supposed to be a bad team, so it's like somebody needs to score for this team.
yes,
Will,
yes.
will it be him?
I listen, there's a world where it's
It's a good bet. It's a good bet to make. If we're talking about Keon Coleman on I don't know, literally any other team, I think this would be a different conversation that we'd be having here essentially.
two word, 5 word blurb. Curtis Samuel.
Curtis Samuel, wow, the name I did not mention there. Curtis Samuel had a really great season last season. So, that is so interesting.
I think Josh is gonna say I got a veteran right here. And all I need to do is have one guy that I throw it to because either hand it off or run it myself. That's what
Yeah.
he's been doing with Stephon Diggs. I got one target, I run it, Cooks runs it. Like that's their offense. So I'm just worried that Coleman
And this
might
is
not. I'm,
this
I'm
is
worried he
a
might not show up. I'm
this is
just.
definitely a spoiler for later though, but I love James Cook this season.
Oh yeah,
I think he's gonna be great. So,
absolutely. I'm upset that
um,
I don't own him anywhere. Trey Benson. I took so long to pick at the 202 because I was going back and forth between McConkey and Benson. And I told myself, I said, there's talent in the 2025 class.
there's a lot of talent in 2025 class in regards to running backs. So
Yes. And
so does fit.
I told myself, stick to the plan, continue to build depth at the wide receiver and quarterbacks, and just trust the system.
Yep. And
Trust the system.
Trey Benson's good for Kyle and Joe's team because they have James Conner. So it's just going to
Yeah.
be basically automatic replacement. Good handcuff,
Yep.
good pick. I think it's probably the best pick that you could have made there, essentially. So they did it.
Mm. He's a good
Next,
athlete and he's fast.
yeah, he's good,
Yep.
literally. Next we have Adonai Mitchell. Colts have definitely been very interesting to see what's happening with this wide receiver two position. Obviously, you have
Yeah.
Pittman. Pittman's going to be number one. He had a really good season, got a lot of receptions. Will that happen with Anthony Richardson? The tale will be told. But there's
Yeah.
a lot of hype on Josh Downs, but then he got a high ankle sprain and then
Yep.
entered Mitchell, who did have a pretty solid preseason as well. He
He
definitely
did.
yeah, he showed his flashes. So is he going to be competing for that number two spot? I'm not sure if Downs is playing game one of this season, actually.
I'm not sure, but I'll tell you this: the in 3-man sets, it will be
Yes.
Mitchell, Downs, and Pittman. But the question is, who do they want more in two wide receiver sets? If Mitchell can secure the two wide receiver sets, he's going to have fantasy relevance this year. Does that mean 750 yards and 5 touchdowns and he's like a good flex play? I don't know. But in terms of the league, in terms of an NFL team, he's an excellent draft pick. In terms of fantasy, mildly high ceiling, very
We'll
low
see,
floor.
especially, rushing quarterback, you lose those touchdowns there because there's going to be that. Jonathan Taylor's on this team. So, I mean,
Yep.
I think it should overall be a great offense, though. I think the offense is going to hopefully score
Yeah.
a lot of points. So we'll see. We'll see if he
Yeah,
ends.
I'm a little worried that if you're not the wide receiver one, then you're not going to get fed on this team.
Yeah.
I
And
think
people,
it reminds me a lot of Buffalo. It
yeah,
reminds me a lot of Baltimore. And and they have, yeah, like you said, they have Jonathan Taylor. Like I don't
People
know.
people are afraid of Pittman as well this season, because of Anthony
Yeah.
Richardson and stuff like that. So the Colts are going to be an interesting team. I think they're going to be a good football team. Are they going to produce
Football,
at that fantasy level? Well, it's definitely going to
tougher.
be exactly.
I
Next
will
few.
say though, not to like completely bomb on Adonai Mitchell, he's been getting a lot of really good camp reports. So
No, he
like
has.
he's
I have
clearly
not
a
heard
good
anything
athlete.
negative
He's
for
clearly
sure.
great. I don't personally see I don't see the rookie year sensation. I could see him developing into a number two, like a consistent number two wide receiver for years and years to come. But I think that's still almost a little bit of a stretch. I'm just not sure.
Yeah, for sure. Next, we have Ricky Pearsall, who actually was
Shot,
yesterday or 2 days ago.
literally shot. Did they give
Literally.
an update? They didn't give an update.
Yeah, no, he's good now. He's out of the
Oh,
hospital.
all right.
He's good to go. So
Their first update said status unknown. And I'm
status
like,
unknown. Yeah, they were fast with the developments on Sleeper during that
oh
night. It
my
was actually
gosh.
it was kind of pretty crazy. But like luckily he is okay. But talking fantasy football wise, probably the worst thing that could have happened, which means Brandon Ayuk signed back with the Niners. So
Yeah,
I think Ricky Pearsall's hype was definitely, oh, he was drafted in the first round. Also, Brandon Ayuk is not
because
going to be on this team.
yep,
So it really, that I mean, what happened to him obviously sucks, but in that couple days before, maybe the day before, Brandon Ayuk signs with the Niners for a 4-year contract, which
yeah,
means Ricky Pearsall is getting pushed down the depth chart. He's also been hurt the entire preseason. He's
yeah.
getting 0 snaps. So things are not trending in the right direction for Pearsall right now, and
Definitely not ideal.
it's just, this is going to be more of a wait and see type of thing. He definitely should be in Berto's taxi squad right now because I just don't think he's going to be doing anything for right now. So this
Yeah,
is one that who you drafted that is going to need to sit.
yeah.
Yep, and that's basically it. Blake Corum. Thoughts on Blake
Thoughts
Corum?
on Blake Cole? Man, did I have so much hate for Blake Corum pre-draft? So much hate. Like small dude, overhyped at the university, overutilized at the university. Like the way I saw it was like he has to be successful. Look how much volume he got. But he might just be one of those small individuals who just is really freaking good at football. Like you
Yep,
always look for that 5'9.5" to 6 foot, 215 pounds, right? That's what you look for. I mean, the height wise, he's close to that lower end, but the weight wise, he's just not there.
yep.
And I didn't see it. I didn't see it. But then you go to somewhere like the Rams and you go to somewhere that has always utilized a bell cow system and you go to this amazing offensive scheme with McVay and I start to see the picture a little bit. And then you hear all these things in camp about them moving around the RB1 position. And you start hearing in camp about how Corum is working in with the ones. And then, oh, he's not only working in with the ones, it might even be a 1A, 1B situation. And now I like him.
It is, I've never been a big Kyron Williams person, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I feel like if I was going to have someone in the Rams backfield, it's not like I'm going to start Blake Corum in my starting
Yeah.
lineup, but he's someone that I want on my bench because I
Yeah.
don't like Kyron Williams. Um, uh,
Yeah.
Kyron Williams definitely, he gets injuries. I know everybody's not like injury prone, but like he is though. So
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. Now he's also going to be returning kickoffs or punts, or I forget which one it
Well,
is.
that's
I
so
don't
like
think.
that kind of news makes me pumped about Corum. So it's
Yeah,
like, hey,
exactly.
we
Another
know that
opportunity
this
for
is
the
a joint backfield. So why not use Kyram in the special teams? It's like, well, that could have easily been Corum.
yep.
That easily could have been Corum on the special teams. So why is this the priority list now? So I personally see a 50-50 split, maybe not week one, but as early as week 3, week 4.
Really,
And if
50-50.
and if Corum produces equal to, if not more than Kyron, I could see this tidal wave just shift. You
Yeah,
know,
I mean,
McVay's always been, and you know what McVay's definitely going to do? It's not going to be Corum and Kyron in the same drive. It's going to be this is Corum's drive, this is Kyron's drive.
and he's gonna feed the hot hand because that's what he does every single time.
Exactly.
What he does, he
So
feeds the hot hand.
all it's gonna take is a couple games or a couple series where Corum happens to have the better drive, and this is gonna be like a tidal wave. It's gonna happen so fast, the shift. And he loves having depth at running back. He's always had depth at running back, but he loves to stick to a guy.
And
So
the running back for Rams is always good. Like what
yes,
they
they
started
always produce.
they started Darnell Henderson like 2 games last season, and I'm
He was
pretty
scoring double digits.
yes, and
10
he's
points for a
there.
guy off the street is like mind blowing. You know what I mean? So
That's exactly what you're looking for. If you get a touchdown and like 60 yards, boom, you're in. But
it's amazing.
you're getting 12 points, and that's exactly what you're looking for. So,
It's what we fiend
definitely.
for here. That's what we fiend for. We fiend for
Mhm.
that waiver wire 10-point guy, 10-point plus guy that's going to win us a week we weren't supposed to week on a bye.
Yep. All right.
So
Rounding
he's
off
got
the
it.
second round here, let's we got some Bo Nix at 2-8. Great pick. Starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
The Denver Broncos going to be good. That is to be seen, but guess what? The starting quarterback. He won this position.
Yep.
It's not like it was handed to him. He literally
Yep.
won it outright, and that is a
Hmm.
step in the right direction that you want from a quarterback. So
Yeah.
great pick, 208, a steal. That's more that that's what you're looking for. I love it.
Yep.
Anything that you want to say about that?
I just I see I do I know it's gonna everyone's gonna say it, everyone's gonna say the same thing, you know, Peyton and Breeze. You know what I mean? Breeze was the ultimate operator, right? Like he knew what he was setting up. There's quotes of Drew Brees saying he couldn't see past some of his linemen because he's so short. Well, Nix doesn't have that problem. But what Brees did was he always knew exactly what was going to happen on every play, and he always had excellent relationships with his wide receivers. And even though he couldn't necessarily see who he was throwing to, he knew that just seeing a glimpse of something through the cracks of the linemen that meant this guy was open over here. So he would turn and just sling it, and he knew where his people were going to be. And I think that's why Peyton wanted Bo Nix so badly. I mean, would Peyton have taken Caleb or May or Daniels or McCarthy? Probably. There's no doubt in my mind he would have taken one of those guys. But he always felt comfortable with Nix falling to him, and he didn't feel the pressure to move up because he saw that Nix was going to be that game manager that he wanted. And guess what? Not in all offensive systems are game managers good. We don't like game managers here in fantasy football, but I'll tell you this, if Nix can be a glimmer of what Drew Brees was, even early in his career, then Nix will be on my roster for years and years to come as my second or third quarterback. Just feeling super confident, super consistent with him. He'll never be like the big shiny toy. He'll never be someone that I can trade for 2 or 3 picks like Caleb could be, like Drake May could be, like Jaden Daniels could be for Berto. But it's awesome to feel like you have, a Tua Tagovailoa, a Jared Goff, a Matthew Stafford, who's your second quarterback year in and year out, scoring you 290 to 350 points, keeping you right where you need to be in terms of having top to bottom roster, first quarterback to super flex position.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree. That's spot on. Next, Jermaine Burton, kind of the same thing that kind of happened with Ricky Pearsall, where
Mm-hmm.
he was definitely getting a lot of camp hype, but he never, well, Burton actually played in preseason games, but
Yep.
he never did anything with them. And then also similar, the Brandon Ayuk and T. Higgins situation, and T. Higgins is back on the Bengals, no contract, but
Yeah.
maybe Burton maybe a next year type of play, but a lot of people were thinking that he was definitely going to slide in this season. Burton even made some comments about himself this season, like during his preseason play, just like I should have done a lot more, like I should have been more prepared. So maybe his mind wasn't in it, and like I don't know, maybe having some physical blocks. But once again, you say this a lot with like these players are so young, and it's very true. Like these are young players; they're just trying to figure it out as much as we all are out here in the world.
They're
So
kids, man. They are kids.
exactly. So that's definitely someone that's going to be, a TBD. So we'll see how that turns out. Hopefully he gets. I think the hope here is that you're hoping he is like a Tyler Boyd. Let's hope he has a couple of touchdowns per game, some receptions, and let's kind of go
Yeah.
from there type of situation. I don't think he's going to be a flex player for right now, but you'll never know. Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow. So
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Jermaine Burton. I'm upset that I haven't been able to get any shares of him in my leagues. It just hasn't, the cookies didn't fall in that manner.
because he got hyped up
Um,
so much that look, he went to 2-9. Like
yeah,
that is how much he was hyped up.
yeah. I mean, I'll tell you this. His issue is the mental, right? Just like you just said, I wasn't really focused. I could have done better, blah, blah, blah. But if you go to the preseason and you watch just his simple 3 or 4 highlights, like his best plays this preseason, the guy's a freak. He really is. His biggest dilemma was always, is he a locker room guy? Maybe not. Is he good for leadership in your huddle? Maybe not. Like if you can get the kid to mature, he's a freak athlete. He's a freak athlete. And where he played at Bama, they didn't utilize him the way that he wanted to be utilized. So if the Bengals can, not this year, but next year, move on from Higgins and move him up to the number 2 position, and Burton, give him the confidence that he wants, give him the play style that he wants. I think Burton is an amazing pick for years to come. Like Coleman, like Pearsall, there is a really low floor, but this is one of the bets I was willing to make. I didn't want to make the bet on Coleman. I didn't want to make the bet on Pearsall. I was tempted at Adonai Mitchell, but in this round, Burton, I personally, Lad McConkey and Brian Thomas go in the first round in most of their drafts that I was in. But in this round, like the guy who kind of sat here the most and the guy that I thought was a steal, I thought Burton was a steal, and he should be a second round pick.
Well,
Um,
we'll see. We'll see about
we
that
we
though.
will see.
And
We
then
will
next we
see.
have Jalen Polk, who also is getting a lot of hype. I think if anything, his value kind of went up. I would say Jalen Polk would
Yeah,
probably went over Jermaine Burton right now if we drafted today.
sure, sure.
New England Patriots, young wide receiver core. We're going to see who's going to come out of this thing alive. They still have Demario Douglas, who's probably going to be their wide receiver one. Kendrick Bourne starting off on the pup as well. So someone's got to step up. It's going to be Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, who's drafted at a 3-3
Yeah,
here. Someone needs to come out of here alive. Once again, Jalen Polk did come from Washington, so a good receiving trio there with someone who I really do like with McMillan. I think that is someone who is my steal of the third round. He's someone that I was actively trying to go after in every single draft.
yeah,
Getting a lot of hype from the Buccaneers right now. I think he's someone that's going to be making an impact as well. So I do like the Washington wide receivers. I think they are going to have some fantasy relevance. So it's just really going to figure out when are they exactly going to get it. But I think Jalen Polk has a really good opportunity there since there's literally nobody on the Patriots. So he's got to do
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Um,
I very much agree. I very much agree. I actually think Polk's gonna end up being the number 1 as a rookie on that team.
we'll see. Demario Douglas is a good player though. I mean,
And when
he's a
per,
vet. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
particularly when Drake May was in, Polk was getting a lot of attention. So if May ends up, did they name the
Yeah,
starter?
Jacoby is the starting quarterback
Which I'm glad that they did that because that needs to happen.
for
That
sure.
offensive line is
Patriots,
scary.
the Patriots are not going to be good.
Yeah, but like, yeah, that's my point. Is like I don't want
Yeah.
May to get any kind of mental lapse because they're not good, and
Yeah.
it's not because of
And
him; it's because of the offensive line.
I think the whole team knows, and I think even Drake May knows that he performed well in the preseason, and
Yeah,
I think he knows he did better than
yeah,
Brissett.
I think the head coach handled it really poorly.
Yeah, it's very, and I think it was always going to be a Brissett,
It ha- that was the plan. That
but
if
Drake
that was
May,
the plan from the draft season, why right before the season you say, well, Drake
it's a
May.
QB, it's a QB battle, but was it really a QB battle?
Well,
Like,
listen, you can just straight up know that Drake May is better, but don't make him the starter. Just
yeah,
don't. It's
yeah.
okay.
But
Don't get the kid hurt.
it's a very interesting situation. I think Jacoby Brissett did not win that position. I
No,
think Drake May won the position, but they're just like, you know what, we're still going to keep you in the
totally.
bench. So good job, good job. Like good
I
job. You did what we wanted you to do, but maybe
Yeah,
we didn't expect it. But now we kind of feel like idiots. So
yeah. I listen, I hope
welcome to
that
the New
they
England
don't.
Patriots now.
Yeah, they can't mess him up. He's such a good athlete. They just can't mess with his psyche and he'll be just fine.
Yeah.
Um I, pick like I got like 2 categories right now. I got like good for the team that drafted them and then just good values in general. Do you want me to go through my couple in the third, fourth, fifth round and then you do
Yeah.
yours?
Yeah. Yeah. Go for it.
So good for the teams that drafted him. Penix, excellent. Excellent. A team that needs a quarterback, a team that needs time for quarterback. Penix is a great pick
Played one
for
preseason
Samala.
game though because they saw enough. That was interesting.
Yeah. He
Which and he did
he didn't
good.
have a particularly great game either. but
But he
that's
did.
okay.
But he did. He did have a good preseason game. I'm pretty
Wasn't
sure.
he like 50% completion rate?
No, I think he was more than that, honestly. I'm pretty sure he threw. I'm pretty sure he threw a touchdown as well. I think he
I
did.
know he threw a touchdown, but didn't he throw picks? Didn't he?
I don't
I
know
might
if
be thinking of the wrong guy.
I don't think he threw a pick, but let's. I don't know why this isn't loading, but let's uh let's look it up on the phone. But continue on. Go on your Michael Penix spiel.
Yeah, so basically what I'm saying is he needs time to develop. He's on a team with perfect developmental pieces around him. By the time he becomes a starter, whether it's 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, he will have a top running back, 1 to 2 top receivers. They should continue to draft offensive linemen around him. He's in a very good position in Atlanta. I see Atlanta turning the corner in the next 2 to 5 years, and he will be the focal point around
All
that.
right.
I don't think he flops. I think he learns. I think Kirk Cousins isn't happy to have him there, but Kirk Cousins, I think, is just a good guy in general and is going to teach him what he knows.
Definitely was a
So I
weird
just,
overall.
so weird.
It was shocking to literally everybody that was
So
not
weird.
a Falcons.
Well, so was it for Green Bay, right? And now look at Green Bay.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, but we only have that proof for one season. Like once again, I mean, I'm not gonna say I don't like Jordan Love. Like he
Yeah.
such a good supporting cast, but like I don't know if I'm ready to put Jordan Love in that like top tier because people have him there, and it's just he's in that second tier, just below the Patrick Mahomes, the Lamar Jacksons, uh,
Yeah.
Josh Allen, Hurts type of thing, and he's in that next one. I just don't know if I'm ready to put him there. So I
Yeah.
just feel like I need to see more. I don't know. It's just that's just me being a pessimist, I guess. Who knows? But Michael Penix, the stats are in. He went 9 for 16, 104 yards, and he actually did not have a touchdown or interception. So, but still,
Yeah, I'm thinking about someone else completely then. Oh, I know who I'm thinking about.
um,
I'm confusing Penix's preseason debut with this year. Who was on the Cowboys?
oh my God, we're not even going to talk about Trey Lance.
Trey Lance.
Trey Lance is
Unbelievable.
really, I don't
Horrible.
know
The craziest thing I've ever seen.
what he threw 5 interceptions in one game.
They basically said, "Hey Dak, we're gonna pay you a lot of money."
It's kind of crazy. I don't understand. It just haunts me because I traded for Trey Lance in this league. I think about dropping Trey Lance every single day, but I just don't have.
You have to. He threw
I don't have.
five picks against the
I
twos,
know.
bro. Get
I
him off
know.
your bench.
We'll figure it out. I don't know.
You're nuts.
All
All
right.
right.
Who else? Who else you have here?
Penix, awesome pick for the team. Just general values in general in this round. McMillan and Wright. In the fourth round, I don't see any like wow, crazy standout values, so I won't say much. In the fifth round, hate to scratch my own back. Audric Estime will be in that rotating lineup between this year and next year. There's a chance he can get in there for a 60-40 split this year. But I personally believe that he'll be closer to a 50-50 split as soon as next year. And I'm also a fan of Tyrone Tracy. I think Tracy is on a team that desperately needs a running back, and Singletary will do the job, but will need a rotator. There's no way he's going to just be the bell cow for every single play, every single game. So Tyrone Tracy is going to see some game time. Someone who I wish that I had an opportunity to be a little bit more exposed to.
Yeah, for sure. I will. I already talked about Jalen McMillan. I agree with that. A shocking one that I kind of want to chat about is Troy Franklin. Hasn't really done anything. A lot of people like them. Bo Nix, Troy Franklin back together again. Hasn't
Yeah,
really done anything. So it's going to be interesting to see how that happens. Braylon Allen is definitely a good name here. He has become the RB2 for the Jets, and they literally just drafted Izzy Bandakanda last season, and then they
yeah.
drafted. Oh my God, Isaiah Davis as well this.
Davis. Yep.
But Brandon Allen has become number 2, and he is the outright one. So that was interesting. I don't know what the Jets are doing. They're drafting so many running backs, and I don't really get what their plan is. But whatever, they can do whatever they want to do. I would agree with you for round number 4. Not really too many interesting names. I would say maybe Bucky Irving. He
Sure.
very similar to Rashad White, so there's not like this is someone that's going to be like relieving Rashad White to do other things. He's going to be relieving Rashad White to do the same exact thing that he is doing.
Yeah. They're all
Now,
good fourth round picks. There's
yeah,
just none that are like, whoa.
Exactly. Ray Davis, same thing. Really well, he's different than James Cook, definitely bigger. So who knows if he's going to get the goal line touches, and he is the RB2 there.
Yeah,
A name that a lot of people like is also Theo Johnson, a really good tight end from Penn State. The Giants need a playmaker, so enter maybe a playmaker here with Malik
yeah,
Neighbor. So should be interesting. Joe Milton, I know he got some hype, but I just don't think he's the quarterback that everybody wants him to be. So I think he's honestly, you can drop him. The hype is not ever going to get there, but feel
yeah,
free to keep using that bench spot. Will Shipley also RB2 for the Philadelphia Eagles, right behind Saquon. He has had a really good preseason. So honestly, a lot of these running backs are really entering themselves in these handcuff territory. So it's going to be interesting to
yeah.
see if them can like rip those off, especially with injuries and stuff happening. So from a running back class that was supposed to be really weak, a lot of them have secured this handcuff role. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with all that, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Good names, good names.
But besides that,
So
yeah.
we enter the listing of top to bottom, what we think the standings will be this year. Would you like to open it up, or would you like me to open it up?
Do you want to open up with the top or do you want to open up with the bottom?
I don't know. What do you think hurts people the most?
I feel like we should go with the bottom, I guess.
Oh,
We were already talking about his team though. I really do think it would be Samala. Let's just take a look here. The roster construction is definitely just a little bit off here. You know, we kind of said it. Aaron Rodgers needs to go. A name that we haven't talked about because we're talking about draft. Kenneth Walker is definitely being very like undervalued though. It's going to be interesting to see what he does here. I think this is a piece that you can keep. But if you're going to get good value from him, why not send him away? But it really depends on what people are really going to be paying for him, especially when everybody wants good running backs. I think Kenneth Walker could definitely get into that territory. Keenan Allen definitely needs to go. Calvin Ridley, I think Calvin Ridley is going to have a good season. I just don't know if it really fits this mold of a team. But maybe it does. We'll see. As he's not someone who I'm outrightly going to be like, all right, definitely get off. But I think Calvin really will have a fine season. Sam Laporta, he's someone that you just want forever, unless you're going to get some complete value from him. I love Brian Thomas. Devin Singletary, also a sleeper at running back. Jameson Williams is someone who I don't think I'm ever going to get behind. He is the wide receiver too, maybe, on
yeah,
this Lions team, but I don't think he's ever really going to pull away and make a name for himself, to be honest.
no.
Um, but thoughts? You think this is also the 10th team?
Yeah, it has to be. And I'm not saying I don't like players on this roster. I think there's more players that names that I enjoy reading than not, but you just can't win with this quarterback crew. You can't.
And then let's just look at his draft picks here. So he does have, so wow, I forgot about this.
Yeah,
He also
he's doing the thing. He's doing the
he
thing.
traded Austin Eckler for that first round pick. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
Uh, uh, so he has 1, 2, and he has his own draft pick, which we love to see in 2 seconds. So, this team is definitely, they
he's on
are
the verge.
they're on their tank mode, but you add five decently good players in this team, and the team will definitely be back and they're going to be competing. So
It's gonna be it's gonna be hard. Listen, I don't want to be negative, Nancy. He's got to find a way to get quarterbacks. In the next class, the quarterbacks are a question mark.
that's what they say. But I think after this week 1 of college
There's definitely
football,
more cool names. Like there's names and opportunities in 2025, but right now we just don't know.
but we never really know.
Last year we knew.
Not last season, we knew Caleb Williams and Drake May.
Yeah, but ready if you know two names, then each year what one or two develop, right? And that's what happens. So you end up with four or five or six. This past year was nuts. The year prior, we knew three names. We knew it. We knew Rich, we knew CJ, we knew Young. Now Young didn't turn out, so it doesn't mean he can't.
I feel like we barely even knew Anthony Richardson though. Anthony Richardson definitely took off.
No, we knew Anthony. So prior to the season, we didn't know Anthony Richardson, but week one, we knew Anthony Richardson because he had like an amazing start to his collegiate senior season or whichever his last season was. You go 1 year prior, Kenny Pickett's year, they had no idea who was going to reign quarterback one, and that's why I get scared of 2025 because there's literally no idea who is like near the top.
I
Like they'll
think
throw names out there, but no one actually knows like, oh, this is clearly the guy who should be king.
Yeah, I think week one for like actually like college football happening literally yesterday and this week, I think a lot more quarterbacks have moved their way up though. So I think there's gonna be some names.
Listen, there's always names. The question is when their senior year is the first year you're hearing about them, you could end up Kenny Pickett, you could end up
I don't think anyone
Joe
ever
Burrow.
wants I
You
don't
know what
think
I mean?
anyone
Like you
ever,
just have no idea.
yeah, no, for sure. I get it. But there's always gonna be quarterbacks. There is. You gotta have that hope. Number
So did I when I picked Kenny Pickett in 2022. I'm just I felt it. I felt the sting of not drafting a good quarterback in the first round.
Yeah, no. And Kenny Pickett is now a backup for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
All right. Next here. Who do you have at number 9 here?
I've got the Owls. Uh,
Santana's team. Let's go. Highland Park Owls.
yeah.
All right, so we got Herbert and Cousins at QB. We have Gino as the QB3 there. Ramondre Stevenson, Najee. We did talk about Brooks. Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards in the flex is where he's supposed to be, but kind of nasty. Najee also a little bit gross, but Najee is always does Najee things. You wanna look at Najee's
The guy's consistent.
the guy is consistent. Um uh, all
So
right,
Najee is a fine RB2. Don't get me wrong.
for
What
sure.
scares me is, you're not going to have Jonathan Brooks for a while. Nick Chubb is still on the pup. So you currently don't have an RB3 for the
RB
first 4 weeks.
RB3, 14 and 23. So he's only getting worse as his time goes on, essentially.
Now, what's lucky for him is he has a new coordinator who loves to run the football. So he could have a turnaround season. There's no doubt in my mind. But
Yeah.
when I see Ramondre Stevenson and Najee, Ramondre Stevenson's going to have his most productive year for that running back core to compete with some of the top running back cores. It's not a horrible running back core. It's just not intimidating. Then you look at the wide receivers. Love Nico Collins. I'm decently on the side of Zay Flowers. Amari Cooper is a value always. Everyone underestimates him and he always returns value. And
Yep.
Rasheed Rice is on the uprise. I
Yep.
just don't see the consistency on that team.
Yeah.
Like I want the spike weeks from Flowers. I want the spike weeks from Cooper. But there's not if you have four wide receivers, which you prefer five, but if you have four, I need to see two or three consistent values and one guy who's like the week winner. Right now, it seems like I have four week winners, and are they going to align? Are the stars going to align at the right time, or you're only going to get one winner a week, and then the other guys are below average, and you just don't score the points to keep up with the people around you? Again, not bad names. I just don't see the firepower needed to make that next step. Now, can someone argue the next team that we're going to say, or that I'm going to say, at least from my perspective? Someone could argue that eight should be in nine and nine should be eight. Maybe even,
I was just gonna say, I feel like the next crop here we can kind of like blend in, honestly, because I mean, while this, I do agree that this is number 9 team. I would agree with that. This team
yeah.
could beat half the league any week at any given time if things.
Now, listen, admittedly, this team could beat me. Like,
Yeah,
if my team doesn't go the way that I hope, I could be the number nine. I mean, that's 100% possible.
that's I
I
hope.
have plans.
You have plans, but I will say I do
I
love.
always have
I
plans.
love the Nico Collins, the Zay Flowers, the Rashi Rice. Awesome. I think these are some cornerstone pieces. Let's keep moving forward with this. George Kittle is a great tight end to have. Like that's just not someone you're ever going to be worrying about. I do just worry about Justin Herbert. He doesn't really have too many weapons, but he's Justin Herbert and he's supposed to be good. So I think if he's going to prove it this season that he is beyond just the Justin Herbert name, he's got to show that he can do some splashes without some well-known receivers, honestly. So it's going to be
Yeah.
interesting to see from him.
Yeah.
All right, number 8. What do we have here?
I currently have AR-15 at eight, but do we
8R15.
want to talk about that blend, that window from eight all the way down to five? Just
Sure.
throw the names out there.
I would do so I would mix AR15. I would do Alexis's team. It's a Rizzler. That is so interesting. I would do my team and I would do your team in this mash
That's yeah. So
of
right
these.
now it goes 8 AR-15, 7 Rizzler, 6 yourself, 5 myself. Now,
Let's go down the
little
list.
bias.
Let's commit to this and let's see if we can come up to a consensus ranking here. So
Sure.
AR-15, we have Anthony Richardson, who's supposed to be a really great quarterback, and
Well,
also Trevor Lawrence, who's supposed to be a really great quarterback. So
that's a little bit of
two,
bias there, Mr.
two
Miro.
unknown quarterbacks. That's not unbiased. It's true. Anthony
He's
Richardson,
been getting some negative.
you
Mr.
have.
Richardson's been getting some negative news.
But guess what? It's preseason, and I know we're just talking about preseason hype, but sometimes the preseason hype and non-hype you gotta take away. Andy
All
Richardson
right.
went crazy the beginning of last season, and everyone's like, "Whoa!" And I think he's gonna do that again this season. He's gonna start off strong, and people are gonna be like, "We're idiots for thinking that he wasn't gonna be good." The person,
Or they'll end up like every other quarterback Jason Mero trades for.
oh my God, I do have Anthony Richardson in other places, so I will say,
And Deshaun Watson
I will
and Russell
say.
Wilson.
I will say though, I am a little bit worried about Anthony Richardson. Like I'm not completely sold. I'm just hoping that the hype is going to be there. I think for this team, Anthony Richardson and Trevor Lawrence is like that's a pretty like I wish that was my those were my quarterbacks, but I'm stuck with
I
Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson. Like if you put these two on my team, I think undoubtedly my team would go to that number 5 spot. But I don't have those consistent quarterbacks. Not that these are consistent quarterbacks, but these are
mean Trevor Lawrence is
more hopeful.
consistent. Trevor Lawrence is consistently mediocre. Yeah.
He's consistently average, but I do also have Trevor Lawrence in a league. I think he is okay. He's someone that I would like as my wide receiver.
Great QB2.
Great QB exactly. Or why did I say wide receiver?
QB3.
QB2. No, QB2. QB3 is disrespectful. That is QB2 for sure. But Anthony Richardson could be that QB1, and then boom, this team goes. Like
Could
you
be,
you
could
have
be, could be.
You have CMC, the best running back in the league. James
Yep.
Conner slash Trey Benson. Boom. You have
Great,
RB2.
great
Brandon
number two.
Brandon Ayuk, new contract. DK Metcalf, new offense. DK Metcalf, you're either really in on DK Metcalf or you're not in on DK Metcalf. And it really depends on which side you're on this. I like
Yeah.
DK as a number 2 there. I'm happy he's not the number 1. If he was number 1, I would be more worried about stuff. Trey
Wait,
McBride,
what do you mean by that? You think DK's not the number one receiver?
I mean, like on this team, I'm happy Brandon Ayuk,
Oh,
this guy's number 1 wide receiver, and then DK. Because if DK was my number 1 wide receiver, I'd be like, I'm not really too confident about that. I feel like I should get someone else, type of thing.
sure,
But
sure,
that's
sure, sure.
exactly the spot he needs to be in. We have Trey McBride, up and coming tight end, really had some flashes last year. I think he actually ended as the tight end 7. No.
Well, the weeks that he was like towards the
Yeah.
end of the season, I think he was a consensus tight end two. Like,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah. Towards the end of the season, but overall 7, which is came
yeah,
out of nowhere. Everyone was just like, "Who is Trey McBride?" And he came. So
yeah,
there. Also, Evan Ingram, a big sleeper. Also, the stack of Trevor Lawrence. I'm not sure if you remember, Evan Ingram brought this team to the playoffs
yeah.
2 seasons ago, or was it last season? But
I think it was last season.
he went berserk. So
Yeah. But
this
this is where the team kind of falls
yeah,
apart.
this
Like
is
your
the
flexes can't be these guys. You know,
yes.
you
I
just
think
it shows that you don't have the depth.
correct. And does he have depth down here? Brian
I mean,
Robinson, I would probably enter more than Christian
no.
Watson, to be honest. I feel
Oh, then his flex players. Yeah, I thought you were going
yeah,
to say James Conner.
I would do Brian Robinson over Michael Wilson. Also, he's in there. He's definitely getting some
He's
appeal.
yeah,
Uh,
he's a good name, but I don't know if he'll do
he, he,
anything for you.
he could be some flexes, some type of week. So, but I agree with you. I think that's where this team kind of lacks.
Very
Um,
hard to win a chip without the depth.
correct. So good. I would say good high upside quarterbacks. The wide receivers are definitely lacking. Like Brandon Ayuk, DK Metcalf. Then what? What happens? You have
Cliff.
you have absolutely nothing. Christian
Yeah.
Watson, I do not believe in. So it's just that's where it really lacks for me. How many years does CMC have left? And then you're going to be back into the territory of like, okay, Trey
Yeah.
Benson, and then what? So
Yeah.
this team is definitely, I would say, right now at a confidently in an 8 spot from where we're
Yeah.
at. Let's go to Alexis's team, former champ. We got Dak Prescott and Jared Goff starting at the QB spots. Bryce Young
Great.
is going to be
Great
sitting there
QBs.
at that QB3 spot. Hopefully, he can make a name for himself and start
He's a
next.
great QB3 though.
It
He's a
is.
perfect QB3.
Is what you want as your QB3, someone with upside. And
This is a good B plus A minus quarterback room. This is
oh, for
good.
sure. This is a underrated quarterback room. Jared Goff and
Yes.
Dak Prescott are QB1s, and
Yes.
they're going to be QB1s.
Yes.
I always give Alexis a hard time about his running backs, but they're still alive, and it's so crazy to me. I literally cannot believe I'm
Who are
still
you more who are you more scared for? I'm personally more scared for Mixon.
who you more. I don't like either of them. I would not go out of my way to go get them, and that's just what
I would go way out of my way to get Alvin Kamara. This is it. This is the last year
this
of a
is the
relevant,
this is the last season because it doesn't
but it's gonna
never.
be a season. Like
I
that's
know
the
it is.
thing. People are like not so this is what I believe in Alvin Kamara. He's going to be at the top of the mountain until he retires. There's not going to be a slope. He's going to know when he's done and he's going to stop when he knows he's done.
Alvin
I think
Kamara,
other people would try
180
to
taps,
drag it out and earn money. I think Alvin Kamara is just like, I know who I am. When I'm done, I'm done.
180 taps, 694 rushing yards is so crazy. He only had 6 touchdowns last season, which is
Well, don't forget he missed like what, the first 4 games of the season?
13. So, well, let's see.
4 games.
Did he?
He
Was he
missed the first 4 games of the season.
first 3 games of the season?
Oh,
And then boom,
whatever.
and then here he is, and he's just putting up constant numbers. But they're still alive, Joe Mixon. So what are your worries about Joe Mixon?
I'm not a fan of running backs their first year on a new team. If it's your second or third or whatever contract and it's your first year on a brand new team,
Not
it
even if it's
bothers
Joe
me.
Mixon, who continues to show that he RB 6, 10, 4,
I know it's nuts.
15, 10, like 1,000 yards
He's
essentially every.
On the Bengals, he got his work from volume, not from efficiency. He's never been an efficient running back. He's been a
Yep,
guy that if you give him all the work, his body can handle it. Now he's getting older, and
550 or
we've
250.
seen that his body can't handle it sometimes. So I just it's a high volume,
Played,
high
played,
frequency offense,
played all
just
17
like
games last season.
say that again.
Played all 17 games last season.
I know. So like in my opinion, that doesn't happen. Ready? So 17, 15, 16, 6, 16, 14. I mean, all running backs are going to miss at least one game. So the 16s I don't worry about. But my point is like when you look at his carries, right, his attempts and his yards, he's not an efficient runner. His efficiency comes because he's on high volume frequency offenses and everyone's looking at Jamar Chase. They're not looking at Joe Mixon. Same thing at Houston. Everyone's going to be looking at Diggs, Dell, and Collins. They're not going to be looking at him. So he always benefits from being on great teams. So can he be what he's always been? Absolutely. He's just scarier to me than Alvin Kamara. I think Alvin Kamara is the Saints offense and everything will go through him.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not. I mean, even on this team where he needs to figure something out. 'Cause what are you going to do next season? Type of thing. Like,
Oh, his running backs are at their bitter end. Yes.
but then we have some upside here. We have Jamar Chase. I love Jamar Chase. We have Jalen
Yep.
Waddle. Jalen Waddle in for a rebound season as well. Jake Ferguson, a sleeper of a tight end, and he has a
Love Jake.
and he
Love
has
Ferguson.
exactly he has a stack with Dak Prescott. Love
Yeah.
hitting those points. Cortland Sutton always super underrated, but I think he's a good person to have in the flex. If Cortland Sutton was in the wide
Yeah.
receiver spots, I would be a little bit more afraid. But
Yeah.
then we start getting to exactly what we started talking about with the last team with AR-15. Zeke and Goddard as the flexes. That
No
just
good.
not going to do it. That is literally not going to do it. There's nobody.
One injury and the season's over.
He has Hollywood Brown, which, things are not going well there already. Adam Thielen,
No.
is he going to make his return to the top again? Because he did last season. Jonathan Mingo. So I think what's happening here is the consistency of not getting good draft picks. Jonathan Mingo, he drafted last year, probably the early or the late first, early second, probably, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So Demario Douglas can actually probably make a little bit of a splash here. But these are names that I'm not like, oh wow, they're going to be league winning things. You're hoping these people are going to be in.
Yeah.
So,
There's just not enough depth. I mean, we get it. There's just not enough. There's not
but
enough
this
depth.
team does slightly outduel the last team slightly. I would
Yeah, from a starter's perspective, sure.
maybe, but they're kind of similar.
Yeah, they're close.
I think they're closer than I think Alexis' team wants to admit, honestly. So that's gonna be that's gonna be an interesting one for sure.
Yeah,
All right.
pick
Who's next?
whichever one you want. I don't
Me?
care.
Me? Let's let's
Sure.
let's do
I
me.
have you next, but you probably have me next.
All right. Well, what about you? You talk about my team and I'll talk about your team. Go ahead.
Jay, your meat and potatoes, your running backs, your wide receivers, your flex, your tight end, all upside good opportunities. But you just can't win with this quarterback core. I- there's a world where Saquon Barkley goes down for an injury and you're now the number 18.
Oh, for sure.
So like
But
I
there's a
can't.
world where Saquon Barkley is the best on the
Of
Philadelphia
course.
Eagles,
Of
baby.
course. Don't get me wrong. Of course. You have a very strong, consistent core, right? And then you have J.K. Dobbins as a backup, Cam Akers as a backup. But again, if I think what might happen to Mixon happens, then he's the starter in Houston again, right? So you have Khalil Herbert, Pierre Strong. You've got names.
Rico Dowell, starting running back for the Cowboys.
Yes, Rico Dowdle. Like you have the depth at running back that you're not really scared if somebody goes down. I'm just saying from a total point wise, Saquon's your guy in the running back room who's going to get those points. ETN, we've saw flashes from him last year. I know you're a big believer in ETN. I'm not a big believer in ETN. I haven't been. I don't think I ever will be, but he scores fantasy points when he's on his game. So if one of those two go down, I think that just you with the quarterback core that you have, you cannot have any of your top point guys go down. You just can't because that's the only way you're going to be able to keep up with people. Your running back crew will beat most people's running back crew. Your wide receiver crew will tie, if not slightly beat, most people's wide receiver crews. But you will lose massive points if Pitts doesn't turn out and your quarterbacks can't be, at least one of them be top 12. And that's very possible that none of your quarterbacks are top 12.
For sure. I agree wholeheartedly with you, honestly. I am gonna go as far as my quarterbacks, and it's just a shame. It really is a shame because I agree with you. Like
Yeah.
the quote unquote mean potatoes, they look good. Like if you see say
Well,
like ETN, AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson, Debo Samuel, Chris Godwin back to the slot, people are a little bit more high on him, but he definitely is not being respected as he used to be. Christian Kirk also has that like
he's going
weakness,
to be fine.
you
Yeah, he's
know.
going to be
No,
fine.
but like, it's true. Like all of this is like, okay, this looks like a good solid team. But then we get to the quarterbacks, which is like an absolute just disaster.
Yeah.
Sean Watson, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. So I need to hope that Russell Wilson is doing so bad that they put Justin Fields in. Trey Lance is never going to start on the Cowboys ever. Nick Mullins if Sam Darnold goes down. But I agree with you. My thing is also having Xavier Worthy, woohoo. Very happy about that. I'm just happy that I can
Yeah,
pick
he's your
like
only other wide receiver though. That's the
I
thing.
would
I
say
didn't see that.
I would say I disagree with that. I like Rashid Shaheed and then Khalil Shakir. Those are people who I will actively be putting into my flex spots this season.
Hmm.
Not in a confident
Hmm.
way, but they will be there.
I think Worthy's your only wide receiver rotator, and unless you're forced to put Shaheed in, you'll never put him
But he played on this team last season. Not that that was a good thing, but he did do that.
in.
But I
Anybody can play.
we can put anybody in the starting lab. You're not wrong about that. All right, let's go. Let's go to your team. I think you have a lot of quarterback depth. Obviously, Kyler Murray should be a QB1. He has that rushing upside. He knows how to throw the ball. Marvin Harrison, Trey McBride, Michael Wilson. I think they have a really good opportunity to be a really good offense. I just hope their defense does not hold them back, where they're just always trying to play catch up, and that can be a disastrous for offense. You're always
I
trying to
mean,
play, always
that'll be
trying.
great for Kyler.
See, but I just think it could be very disastrous if you're always trying to play catch up. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. The offense is not going to be fluid. you don't control the game. You're making the opponent control the game.
Yeah,
Not,
just remember this. A pick is only -2,
I'm
but a
well
but a
aware.
catch-up touchdown is 6.
Comrie, Comrie is also not a winner to me. He has
He
lost
hates
more.
him. The guy hates him.
He has lost more games than he's won in the NFL, and people still hype him up. I really do love your Caleb Williams thing. I think he is going to be starting your team in the future, and obviously you have Drake May and Bo Nix. Like your quarterbacks are pretty much set. It's just going to be interesting to see does anything really happen with them, and or is anyone actually going to solidify themselves outside of Kyler Murray as like your QB 2-1 type of thing.
Yeah.
Then we start getting to your running backs. I love Jerome Ford as your RB2. It's exactly kind of like what you're looking for, someone to kind of be inserting in here, especially since you do want to compete. Brees Hall, RB1 for me. I love Brees Hall. He's up there with me for CMC and Bijan. I think
Yeah.
Brees Hall has potential to be RB1. That's someone
Yeah.
that I love. Then we
I
start
agree.
getting to wide receivers where things start getting a little bit sketch, but they're young. So it's like Marvin Harrison Jr. Is he going to do that step? Drake London. Is Kirk Cousins really going to make him a wide receiver one? Malik Neighbors, not on a good offensive Giants team, but is he just going to be littered with targets? Probably. And that's where you're kind of hoping for. T. Higgins, I think, is going to be fine. What's going to happen to him next season? We are unaware, but we are talking about this season. I do love Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, T. Higgins are going to be fine, and they kind of shown that in the preseason. Also, Jamar Chase is being a little bit sus of his contract, so is he going to be out there week 1? Who knows? You do love Jacoby Myers. I think Jacoby Myers is a very underrated wide receiver. That's someone that's interesting to have in your flex.
Yeah.
Uh, Fryermuth, do you have any other tight ends?
So the two issues of this
Well,
team,
look at this. Like,
I know.
look at what we're looking at here. Dontavian Wicks, Odunze, McConkey, JSN. Like, what awesome names to have on your bench to go into your flex. Jordan Addison. Like that's awesome. Tyson Chandler or Ty Chandler also can do something. Maybe enter, but that's awesome. Like you're going to be rotating your wide receivers until you find an actual mix of people who are going to be contributing every single week, which is
Yeah.
which I think already, like I think you surpassed me with that right there and your quarterback. So you have more of a stable team. I might have a lot more all stars than you, but you
Yeah, you
have
have hard hitters.
exactly, but you have a lot more depth than me. Like you
Yeah.
said, one thing and I'm out. I'm dead.
Yeah.
But if you get one player that's hurt, you're moving up.
Yeah.
It's
My weaknesses are my running back two and my tight end. Like
but
when
why not? That's fine as your running back too. That is
I'm
literally
just saying in a championship run situation, I would need more firepower than Jerome Ford, and I definitely need more firepower than Pat Freiermuth.
lucky for you though. You have a lot of assets to potentially trade. So if you're in that position, I'm sure
Yep.
you're going to figure something out. But I would
Me?
shut up. But I would agree. You're definitely in the five. I would put you there. Anything
Cool.
to say about
I'm glad to know that my rankings are solid.
all
Yeah.
right. So who do we
This
have
is where
at
it gets
here?
this is where it gets gnarly. We got some good teams at the top. We do.
I think we have Bash Bros as next, correct?
At 4, I have Bass
Yeah,
Bros, yes.
perfect. I would agree here. Bash Bros, it's tough, they've always are so close. They are so close all the time and they never pull through.
Yep.
I feel like the end is coming, and I think they also realize that. They definitely have been a little bit more stingy with like their draft picks and like trying to train things away. They're getting into this range of just like I don't think they have enough to make a push for it, but they don't have a lot of things to give away to also make the
Yeah,
extra.
they don't really have a choice, right?
Exactly. They need to stick to their plan here and just kind of go
Yeah.
for it, because unless you're going to sell everything off to another competing team, you're just going to make someone better and then you're going to make yourself worse, and then
Yeah.
you're going to be teetering in this middle, because this team is not like it's not like he's going to trade James Cook and then this team is just going to fall off a cliff. Like you're just going to get a little bit worse, but that's not the
Yeah.
direction that you want to be going in essentially.
Yeah. You either want to fall off a cliff so you rebuild, or you want to push your chips in and hope that it works
Exactly.
out.
And I do love the Josh Jacobs and James Cook combo.
Yep.
I was just hanging out with a couple of my buddies on Saturday, and we were kind of like, we were always spitballing just like fancy football stuff. And I honestly came to the conclusion that I think I'm a lot higher on Josh Jacobs than I honestly thought I was, just by
Yeah.
having conversations about it. And I think, why not? The Packers are a good offense, kind of like we were saying before. I think Josh Jacobs is going to get a lot of those touches. I know down last season was a very down season for him, but the season before that he was RB1. I'm not saying he's going to be RB1, but I think he's going to be someone that you can trust. Um,
Yeah,
Josh
I
Jacobs,
agree.
James Cook, two running back spots. And that's someone that is going to be competing essentially.
Problem after that is that the running back depth. I mean, I'm looking down on his bench a little bit, and
Seems like
neither one of
he's starting Chase Brown, so I think that really kind of speaks for itself right there, honestly.
yeah. But that's it. Like if
Austin Eckler.
any of those three go down, we're in trouble.
It's going to be interesting to see what Austin Eckler does. I mean, this is a PPR league, so
Like
if
he's
he
going to be finding himself starting Wandale Robinson. Like that's how thin the depth is.
but
The top is so strong on
I
this
think if
team.
you look at wide receivers though, like Stephon Diggs is does what does he have left? Does he have a year left? DJ Moore just got a contract. Like
But
very similar to what I was saying about DK. Like I think I'm very happy DJ Moore is the number 2 spot than the number 1
yeah,
spot. Also has Cooper Cup though. I'm huge into Cooper Cup this season. I think
yeah,
he's great, but once again, how many more seasons does he have left like this? Mike Evans,
yeah,
exact thing. You're in this territory of Mike Evans, Cooper Cup, and Stephon Diggs literally falling off a cliff next year. And then this team is just going to not be in the right direction. We didn't even say anything about Josh Allen, but I think that's a given. But Josh Allen's also supposed to have a down season. So is he the QB1 that he's really hoping for type of thing? Travis Kelce, you can't beat Travis Kelce, but so similar to what we've been saying. Like, is this
Wait,
it?
but
This the
he
year?
needs to trade his tight ends. He has to. He's got too many.
Why? Who does he have?
He's got oh sorry, never mind. I saw Dawson Knox and I was thinking Kincaid.
Oh,
He's got Brock Bowers.
yeah,
So
yeah, we've mentioned that, but Brock Bowers is good. That's someone you're
I
gonna.
thought again, I saw Dawson Knox and my brain said Kincaid. So I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah, yeah.
why do we have three like top six tight ends? But I can't move him any higher. And there's a chance that you or I can even pass this team
I was
if
just
an
gonna
injury
say that. I
happens.
was just literally gonna say that. Like I feel like we're putting him at a 4 here, but I feel like with me, I think I'm starting to rethink these a little bit. Like I think me, you are gonna be this 4, 5, 6 range, but my quarterback's kind of like, I don't know. You're gonna see what's gonna happen. I would agree still that Alexis and AR-15 are gonna be in their range of things. And I think we're kind of battling for this. This team is very strong, but one injury and it's all over. Like it really.
Hey, if your injury's happening, you got to rebuild. I'm right here, brother. There are
But
pieces on this team that I need, that I want. So when you're ready for the rebuild,
but
well, the boy's right here.
this is the act of trading picks away and not really drafting anybody. Like they drafted Brock Bowers, but that's not someone that's really going to be contributing right now. That's more of a later piece. I mean, he could
Yeah,
contribute now. We don't really know.
yeah,
Is he going to be like league winning? I feel like I know that answer, and it's a no. So
yeah,
we'll see. Gabe
yeah.
Davis, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens here. Once again,
Love the starting lineup.
yes, very
Just
strong
sketchy
team.
after that.
Yes, for sure. All right. Next, I think we're gonna do Team IR.
Yeah, it
Uh,
has to be Team IR because the two top teams there's really no order. It's
for
really
sure.
who gets lucky.
We have a QB trio here actually. CJ Stroud, Joe Burrow, and Jordan Love here. So very interesting. These are three QB1s. Are
Yep.
they going to be trading one of them? Who
We
knows?
tried. We almost had a trade go, but I just said there's so many quarterbacks here. I don't need them.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
there was a moment where Joe Burrow was almost on my team, and I just said it doesn't make sense for me when I can get Caleb.
for sure. Hopefully they watch this video and they learn to trade a quarterback that they don't need. Because it really is a shame. One of these are going to be sitting, but I don't know. I think having three
Well, he
QB,
does need a QB3. Like I
you
wouldn't trade
do,
one of these
but do
three.
you?
I
But
wouldn't
do
trade
you
one of these
need
three unless the trade he's receiving has like a
for another quarterback? But
yeah, within the trade.
You don't need Jordan Love or Joe Burrow as your QB3.
No,
That's crazy.
it's
You're
too many
you're
points.
wasting points there.
And I'm in the same boat. Like I don't need like hopefully Caleb turns out and then I don't need Tua as my QB3 or Drake May or Bo Nix. So, my hope is to share the wealth over time, but I I'm not devastated that Jordan Love or Burrow or Stroud is going to be on his bench at any given week. I'd feel more happy about that than upset about that. Where I'm at is will White do what he normally does and is Swift a bust. Like he just keeps moving teams and keeps getting into better. He goes from a bad offensive situation to a better offensive situation. Sorry, a decent offensive situation to a better offensive situation, and doesn't particularly do better. Kind
He
of
has
stays the same.
he does
So
have
the
this duo right here of Spears and Pollard though as well. So
yeah, I mean, listen, he has rotators, but Spears and Pollard, it's like unless one of them takes the job, then you really don't have a running back three. I think that they're going to be a 50-50 split the entire time. I don't think that either one of them's going to take the job, which is unfortunate because I love Spears, but I don't think Spears is necessarily good enough to take it. And I think Pollard's past his prime. So I think they're both kind of,
I would go with Pollard more than anything. Pollard had a really good last season, especially in the second half when he was more healthy. And
yeah.
I think Pollard's going to be the one to have in regards, but Spears is probably going to be the touchdown guy. So I don't know. It's going to be kind of hard to check all that out, honestly. But I agree with you. The running backs are definitely a little bit sketchier. Like I feel
I mean,
like
they're not horrible. It's like
not, but do they? I
his
feel like
wide receivers, his wide
they need, they
receivers,
need that they need that RB hero. They need
yeah.
that RB1 on their team.
Yeah, his wide receivers are why he is where he is.
Correct.
Like
But
his,
Justin
sorry, I should say
Jefferson,
his QBs and his wide receivers. The
but Justin
QB wide
Jefferson,
receiver combo here is why he's at three and not four, five, six, seven.
correct.
Um,
Justin Jefferson also supposedly doesn't have a quarterback, so what are we?
well,
What is
Sam
that?
is gonna force feed him. So like I'm not worried about Jefferson's total numbers. I mean, he's not gonna have spike weeks like he used to, but he'll probably end up right around where he normally is.
Which is the issue for that though. I
Yeah.
feel like but Tyreek Hill, amazing. Like
Yeah,
we
well,
love that.
Tyree, well, that's my point is Jefferson's going to be consistent. He's not going to be, 30, 14, 35, 17. Like kind of last year, like he had these moments where it was like he won you weeks all by himself. That won't be Jefferson. If he had Jefferson and Tyreek from last year, he'd be a lot scarier because that's two spike week guys. But Tyreek is still a spike week guy. Jefferson will be his consistent guy. That's awesome. Adams, I think, will be a consistent guy. He's definitely on the back end of his career. This might be the last year for Adams, but he's going to get you, in my opinion, 13 to 16 points every week. Pickens, I disliked. I traded him away. I was not a fan of George Pickens, but he has proven me wrong and had a really consistent year last year. If there's a quarterback in Pittsburgh, he will have another consistent year. So you got three consistent guys with the spike week guy, and the one consistent guy, Jefferson, is a consistent 17 plus point scorer. So he's almost a spike week on his consistency. Dobbs is where it gets sketchy.
I would
And
I would
every
agree.
other name up until Dobbs is awesome. The
I would be putting Pollard in for Dobbs or Spears in for
yeah, or Lockett,
or Lockett, I guess. Maybe,
right? Like prove me wrong, Tyler
Maybe
Lockett,
Darnell
right?
Mooney does
Like
something. Brandon Cooks on the Dallas
yeah,
Cowboys, that's a high scoring offense.
yeah. He
There's
doesn't
definitely
have like great
yeah,
depth. He doesn't have great depth, but he has pieces that can
he's
go in the
consistent.
lineup. Yes.
But
Yes.
I would agree. I do like the George Pickens spike weeks though. I think George Pickens is someone who I would be happy to have on my flex.
Yeah.
Someone that's this is a boom or bust type of guy, and I think he's
Yeah.
gonna be booming more than busting, to be honest.
Yeah.
Uh, uh,
Drop Kadarius Toney. Just do it.
I saw someone in my other league pick him up the other day. Like, did you get signed by?
God,
Because
so
I know he
embarrassing.
got waived by the Chiefs, but I don't know.
So embarrassing.
That's so interesting. But I would agree. Like this team just needs something else, and it's true. It needs something else
And
to.
it's unfortunate because he's got such dominant QB play. And what really stinks is he doesn't have a first rounder in 25. He's got a
No
second and a fifth.
25. That's gonna hurt you right there for sure.
Yeah, so he like I don't know, the window I don't want to say the window's closing, but it's not going to be as wide open as it is last year, this year. Like
Correct. For sure.
it's this is a team that's
If
going
you're
to
in
need
this, because there's a realistic probability here that this team is going to look the same exact next season, but
same exact.
that's not a good thing. Like everyone is a year older. Devontae Adams might even be on a new team because he is going to be fed up with that place.
The
George,
young building teams like my own are going to continue to rise and he's going to stay in place.
correct,
And the
correct.
two teams at the top, are going to be these teams are so hard to catch. These two
Let's
teams at the top are so hard to catch. So let's just say that.
let's
It's
let's
Mac and
do-
Corey and it's CD's nuts, and it's not in any particular order. I'm sorry, it just isn't. It's whoever gets the luck of the draw. It's whoever makes it all season without an injury.
let's give
It's
Mackenzie the respect since he won a championship last season. So we'll make him number one here. So let's go number two.
sure.
Let's go number two here. We have the Jalen Hurts, Matthew Stafford, and now newly acquired Jaden Daniels as quarterback. Love that move for him. That's something that is just going to make his team even stronger next year.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford is not any slouch. He's going to be your good QB too. I'm in for the
Yeah.
quarter.
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor, I think he's going to come back to RB1 relevancy, and people are going to be
He
like,
needs to, or it's going to get scary.
oh, he has to. I feel like he will. And then Derrick Henry, Derrick Henry on this Baltimore Ravens offense is just going to be silly. He's going to have so many touchdowns. It's actually bad. It's
I want to make a bet, like a crazy bet. Like, what's the touchdown record for rushing for running backs?
it's high. Like I want to say it's like Damian Thomason or like Sean Alexander, like high 20s, like
I'm
27.
gonna look it up right now.
He's not going
But
to.
like, I want to make a dumb bet that he'll be the guy who breaks the touchdown record.
No way. That's something that I will not agree with, but Derrick Henry is in 15 touchdown territory, 20 touchdown, maybe. Like a Jamal Williams from like 2 years ago where he was just getting all of the goal line. And like that's something the Ravens should do. Why are you going to risk Lamar's body? Just literally give it to Derrick Henry at the goal line, let him put it in there. See you later. And call it a day, to be honest. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, Pacheco, who's supposed to be also having an amazing RB1 season. Pacheco was a good snag at someone who he
Oh my
drafted.
gosh.
So,
Jay, I retract my statement. I'm sorry. And I completely just interrupted you.
what is it?
LaDainian Tomlinson, 31 touchdowns in 2006. That's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen ever. Like, I don't even know how he got 31 touchdowns. Like,
I would make a bet. I would make a bet
thinking about
though.
that today is disgusting.
That's nuts. I would make a bet though that I would make a bet on 20 touchdowns, Derrick Henry. I would do
I
that.
feel like 20 is aggressive.
I'm just saying that's where I think he will just be their goal line guy.
For sure. And then he should be their goal line guy.
I
But
don't want to stay on Derrick Henry too long, but did you see like the coach talk of like Derrick Henry and um who's their backup? Hill, Justice Hill. They're like, yeah, it's a 1A, 1B like duo situation.
I did not see that. No way. That would be silly.
Harbaugh said Justice Hill's been with this program long enough that he is one of our starting running backs. Like this is not a backup situation. This is a rotation situation. That's what he said.
That's interesting. I don't know.
So what I think is save the big Yeti for the red zone, and Justice Hill runs between the 20s, which means
I
Justice Hill will get all the yards and Derrick Henry will get
I
all the
mean,
touchdowns.
so in my head, that's what I was thinking. Like volume is definitely gonna go down for Derrick Henry then,
Yeah,
and they're gonna the Ravens are obviously a playoff team, so they also might
yeah,
be trying to preserve him. Like
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
interesting to see if that's gonna happen. But even if you do that, Pacheco RB2, Derrick Henry flex, I'm still in.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. CeeDee
And guess
Lamb,
what? If he sucks, Isaiah Pacheco's right down the list a little bit.
exactly. I'm in. Then we have CeeDee Lamb, who was the wide receiver one last season. Got a new contract, so now he's happy, and I don't see him falling off anytime soon. You have Puka, literally rookie sensation, rookie receiving leader now. He holds the record. Obviously Cooper Kupp is coming back and he's going to go into that. But like I said, I mean, I'm really in on the Rams offense. I don't see why he can't do what he did last season. Maybe it might be, he might regress a little bit, but I think that's
Still a great season if he regresses a tiny bit.
exactly. I'm not honestly too worried about it. And that's someone who I'm happy to have, especially where Berto got him. I think Berto got him in like the fourth or fifth round or something like that.
Yeah,
So,
to have a 300 point wide receiver two is awesome.
yep.
Awesome.
Mark Andrews at the tight end spot. Everyone loves Mark Andrews, consistent, someone that I'm happy to be there. Some people are definitely a little bit iffy on him for this season, but I think, he just got hurt he left a lot of a bad taste in people's mouths because he got hurt at the end of the season, didn't show up for
Yeah.
people aren't happy about it,
Two
but
years in a row.
I think he will be back.
Yeah. I'm worried about him. You say and everyone says there's no such thing as injury prone. I'm a little worried about the injury history of him. I think I would draft him. Don't get me wrong. I mean, tight end is a position where it's like you're either changing the market, you're either, putting your team to that next level, or you're just with everybody else, going through the scraps to get 10 points. So he's someone I would, just like anybody should, take a risk on, but he's scary. I think you just that right there makes my difference. I think this is the number two team, and I think Mac and Corey is the number one team because the Mark Andrew potential and the Puka Nakua either doing the same or doing slightly less. When you look at the bench, we'll get there. I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Um, it's the number two team. It's not the number one team. But it's again, if Mac and Corey have an injury, then this guy can take the number one seed very
I
easily.
mean, I see the bench like you have Montgomery,
Yeah,
Mike Will, if he does something, who really knows? Jerry Judy is like interesting, but he probably
sure.
won't do
Now
anything.
that he's on a every time he goes to a new team, it'll be interesting. But
It is like, but if he hasn't shown anything before, I don't know. I'm not really
oh,
right
wait
now.
a minute.
He
The
has
fact that he has Isaiah
Isaiah
Likely, I did
Likely
not catch
to,
that.
to cover his back for that. He has
Yeah, I
Mike
didn't catch
Dylan
that.
McMillan, super into that. You know, I think, but we also hyped up Deontay Johnson before. Actually, I think that was actually off the video here, but we both like Deontay Johnson this season as well. So someone that's a really good flex. We didn't even talk about Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith's amazing. That is a super two. Eagles offense. I'm in for.
Yeah.
Um, I would even like Devontae Smith as my wide receiver too. So I mean, really, all of these are pretty much interchangeable. This is a
Yeah.
fantastic starting lineup.
The starting lineup can go toe to toe with anybody.
Absolutely, and someone that they should be afraid of.
Yeah.
Let's go to the defending champ, who has the grossest QB duo ever. I don't think I'm ever going to see anything more grosser than this, but we have Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. That is
Yeah.
these are the two quarterbacks that are going to be playing the first game this Thursday. For a reason. These are Super Bowl contenders. Really wild that he pulled this off. You have Bijan Robinson, going to be RB1 potential. Kyron Williams, I know someone said that I'm not really a huge fan of, to be honest. So I gets a little bit downgraded for me. But then he has Jameer Gibbs. I love Jameer Gibbs. And he also has Devon Achan. Like those four running backs, boom, awesome. I'm in for that.
Nuts.
Um,
Best running back core by far.
for sure. Then we have
By far.
Amon Ross St. Brown, who has been nothing but consistency. He is a wide receiver one, and he's only going to continue to do so. Something that people are a little bit low on a little bit this season, maybe is Chris Olave. Is he going to be reaching that wide receiver one potential and really do that? So I don't know. The Saints kind of sketched some people out. I like Chris Olave. And if he can do what he's supposed to do, then this team really is just ridiculous. I like Tank Dell. I don't think he's going to be like wide receiver one stats, but he did prove that he can put up those numbers when he was literally active last season. So why not? Pittman, once again, I know we really kind of talked about A Rich and Pittman, maybe a little bit of a downgrade here, but this is someone he's starting in his flex. It's not someone that's going to be his wide receiver. So I'm
Yeah.
really that flex thing. Like his
Yeah.
start lineup is dangerous, like unreal. Like we just said, the like Berto starting lineup was really good. Like this lineup is even better, which is crazy to say. It just this oozes of pure potential and dominance,
Yeah.
and it's actually wild. And let's go down to the bench here. We
Yeah.
do
He's got depth.
Jalen Warren, Zach Moss, Achan, Mostert, wide receiver.
Hopkins.
You could do some Hopkins, Keon Coleman, Josh Palmer is starting. Scary
Jalen Reed.
and Reed. Like this is wild. Has a second round pick next year, so this is definitely the team to beat for sure. Not even a question. We
Yeah.
didn't even say anything about Kincaid. Kincaid, he can be,
Kincaid's the weak spot here. If he doesn't hit like we think he's gonna hit, then
but he should, because guess what? The Bills have a lot of vacated targets.
yeah. Hey,
But this is
Kincaid is his only weak spot, but it's like it doesn't make a difference because he's so overpowered at quarterback that he's overpowered at quarterback. He's overpowered at running back. He's a great wide receiver core. I wouldn't call it overpowered, but you have your Spike Weeks and Tank
I
Dell
would
and
agree.
St. Brown,
I
and then you
would
have your
agree that it's not
consistency.
overpowered. It's not an
Yeah.
overpowered wide receiving core for
But
sure.
it's what you need.
Yeah,
It's
for
what you
sure.
need.
I'd be happy with it.
Yeah. It's the most well-rounded team in the league. It is.
It's definitely going to be one to beat. It's
Yeah.
one that's going to be scary this season. It's someone that's going to be scary next season, and it's someone
Yeah.
that's going to be scary probably the season after that. There's not really
Yeah.
much this team needs to do besides sit and wait to see what happens, honestly.
Yeah. The youth is what bothers me the most because that was my play. My play was let everyone in the league get old and be the youngest and then take over in time. But when he made
Or
that trade with for Lamar, I believe, or was it for
for
Patrick?
Patrick Mahomes,
For
but
Patrick.
not
That's where I
even.
was like, oh crap.
It's Mackenzie got really lucky. Well, not lucky. I mean, hopefully, maybe he got lucky, but he really hit on all of his draft picks. Like
Yeah.
he loaded up for 2 seasons ago, and he pretty much hit on every single one of them. So
Yeah.
when you do that, I mean, draft picks are valuable. I mean, I think this kind
Yeah.
of shows it can be very, very fantastic for you, but if you do not draft the best, then it can all also blow up in your face. But
It
this is
drives me nuts that he has the entire Miami backfield. That drives me nuts.
okay. The guy knows what he's doing, kind of. But yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it for there. I think that is definitely the best team. It's definitely going to be an interesting season where we kind of get to. Even if we want to look at some projections, like Mackenzie is the top for the week 164, Berto 158, new team IR 157. Samala at that 128 range. We're kind of saying, I mean, I really do feel like Samala is kind of in a territory of his own a little bit here. Maybe Santana's team, but overall, it's going to be an interesting season. I think we kind of were debating on I think there is a good chance for that middle of the pack tier is really going to be making some differences.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for some trades. I know my quarterbacks are not the best, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens for sure. All right, any last thoughts here?
No, the league has been good. The league's been good. Uh, you know, it went from balanced to people picking where they want to be, whether it be contenders or rebuilders. The rebuilders are starting to settle into their spots. Some of the contenders who went up found that they really couldn't compete, so they've come down to the rebuilding window. It's shaping up like every dynasty league does, and it's shaping up like every sports league does, where you have your contenders, you have your rebuilders, and if you can recognize where you are, then you shouldn't be upset with the season ahead. If you have a hard time recognizing where you are, you're going to find yourself upset with the season ahead. So, as usual, best of luck to everybody. Uh, I will continue to steal your rookie picks, and don't
And
let
we'll be
Samala have
and
any
we'll be
more.
back and we'll be back. We're definitely going to be trying to do this weekly. So we're always here
Yeah,
to hype you guys up, trash you. It's going to be a good time. I'm excited. Can't believe it's back. Thursday can't come soon enough.
unreal. Absolutely unreal. We got 3 days until football again. But fellas, until we rebrand, we're just saying goodbye.
Yes, sir. All right. Bye-bye.